And we are live. Didn't do any promotion for the show today. I've been talking about being on at 7:30 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Oh, we got two people watching already. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining me. I am Rav Holly, the American Nomad. Welcome to the American Nomad podcast. Good to see you guys. Three people in the room. Awesome. So me advertising that I was going to be on, I don't have to. I was worried because I didn't actually make a post saying I was going to do the show today. I didn't never had time. It's been a crazy day. It's been a crazy weekend. Four people in the room, two thumbs up. Hey guys, good to see you. Welcome. Who do we have? Matilda. What's up, Matilda? So good to see you. Let me see if I can get this. Let me get my screen set here. I didn't have time to get all set up today. Running a little bit late. I'm actually a little bit run down, guys. I've been I've been going all weekend. Joshua Rialto, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, I've been going all weekend. I actually ended up having to clean up Bertha, my camper van, and did showed it to a potential buyer yesterday. And if all goes well, I think I have found a buyer for Bertha. I'm just waiting. I had to do a transfer of the title, waiting to get in the new title paperwork. And if all goes well, Bertha is sold. So that's a big weight off my mind and a big load off my shoulders. But funny thing is I've been driving Bertha just for old time's sake. I've been out of Bertha since I got my new Snap-on truck, but I've been driving Bertha around the last couple of days or yesterday. So I'm super excited about finally getting rid of Bertha and not having that added stress level. Okay, hold on a second. I got to do something. I didn't get set up good today. I have something that's bugging me. See that big shadow over here to the side? That's because of the chair for my guests, and that shadow drives me crazy. So my OCD's going off the. What's up, Black Warrior? Thanks for joining us here on the American Nomad podcast. Give me 1 second. I'm going to fix something. All right, much better. Okay, so anyway, for you guys that don't know, I'm going to be bringing up some topics that you may not even know or have any idea what I'm talking about. So there's a famous YouTuber that's got 5-6 million subscribers on YouTube, and he does a YouTube news show every day, and he kind of inspired me to do the Nomad News. But his name is Philip Defranco. And I literally watch his show every day at some point just to get caught up on the YouTube community. And he does regular news as well. And lately, him and another news guy that's on YouTube called Keemstar, those two guys have been just going off and continuously ranting about all of these little teenage influencer kids that are here in LA, the Zoomers and the little millennials that are partying because they're having all of these big house parties. And they think it's so irresponsible because of COVID. And I want to call out Philip DeFranco. I'm a big fan of the guy. I mean, he's a super leftist, of course, but I have lots of liberal friends. So, I mean, I don't hold that against him, and I still watch his show. But it's it's so hypocritical to listen to him rant and rave and calling out these influencers, these kids. I mean, they're kids. This one kid, they're like TikTok influencers or TikTok kids. This one kid had a big birthday party because it was his 21st birthday. You only turn 21 once. And Philip DeFranco is basically calling them garbage humans and irresponsible because, they don't have any, they're so selfish. They don't have any empathy for anybody else. And they're going to kill grandma and all of these things, that the whole COVID thing. And my question to Philip DeFranco is, Phil, I didn't hear a peep out of you when there was 20,000 people in the streets in LA, all bunched together in downtown LA doing their protest while they were burning and looting buildings and breaking into buildings and not wearing masks. Didn't hear a peep out of Phil about that. He wasn't too worried about that. But 100 people gather at a house in the Hollywood Hills or out in Calabasas, that's the end of the world for Philip DeFranco. But you can have 15,000 people or 10,000 people all packed together like sardines in the streets of Hollywood. And Philip or none of these other leftists here in LA had a thing to say about that. They're all, Black power. We got to do what we got to do. Now that that's over, there, he's having a fit about these little kids that are, I'm not saying it's right, but I think a lot of people have just had their fill of the COVID thing, and they're just going to live their life. And at this point, I've been seeing a joke go around, and the joke is, "Hey, there's a joke about COVID I was going to tell you, but it's something. What is the joke? There's a joke about COVID I'm going to tell you, but 99% chance that you wouldn't get it. Get it? Because 99% chance you're not going to get COVID or you'll survive it." Anyway, guys, we got 6 people in the room, 3 thumbs up. Thank you guys for joining me here on the American Nomad podcast. Matilda, Joshua, Black Warrior. I don't remember you, Black Warrior. Matilda and Joshua, they're regulars. Do you have it? Is that your name for something else? Have I seen you before, buddy? Just curious. Let me see if I can share the podcast here on Facebook. Maybe we'll get some more people in here. Oh, check wow wow. See if that posted. I think it did. Let's see. Yeah, it did. Great deal. Anyway, so thanks for bearing with me there, guys. So yeah, we got 5 people, 6 people in the room. JBK, what's going on, buddy? Hello, everybody. Good to see you guys. Like I said, I didn't have time today. I usually try to do a post at some point during the day, letting people know that I'm going to be doing the show. And man, I've been so busy today, I didn't even get a chance to do that. I'm going to rant anyway. So if you don't know who Philip DeFranco is, he has probably the #1 news show on YouTube. And that was just a point I wanted to make. Hey, William, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Is it Gainus? 2 A's. It would be Gainus, right? Or Gainus? Matilda, I was notified by YouTube you were going live. Oh my gosh. So that's actually the YouTube notifications are working for me. I thought they had killed them for me at one time. So glad that they are working. So anyway, yeah, I'm not sure if you know who Philip DeFranco is. It's one of those things when you watch certain YouTubers, you think everybody else does, and a lot of times that's not the case. But anyway, yeah, I was. It's today was listening to Philip rant and rave about these little influencer kids from TikTok and Instagram and the Jake Pauls that Jake Paul is, I don't know how old he is, 24, maybe 23, 24. The kid's a millionaire from all of his, influencer money, and he's got a multi-million dollar house out in Calabasas. And of course, he's having parties, and, they're doing what young adults do. They're not always going to listen to, to reason. And it is what it is. William Gannis is still on lockdown up in Nevada, Novato, California. I've never even heard of that, dude. And I've lived in California for a long time. I guess you're up north by Sacramento, San Francisco, up in that area. We're still on lockdown here in LA as well, but the problem is people are pretty much over it. People are just pretty much doing whatever the hell they want to do. I think the gig is up as far as the COVID thing. People are going to work now. You see traffic. Anytime I get out on the road, it's tons of traffic. So people are north of San Francisco. As far as Reading, William, or not quite as far as Reading. Joshua Rialto, new protest group alert BLT BLT bacon, lettuce, and tomatoes matter. Yes, they do. That's a BLT I can get behind. That's a movement I can get behind right there. The funny thing is, like I was talking the other day, the BLM, you can BLM. Of course I support the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management. I've supported them for years. I think they do a great job. Every now and then they get, they are a pain in the butt when it comes to RTR, and they lay the law down. But yeah, that's a good one, Joshua Rialto. In Marin County. Oh, Marin Country. Gotcha. All right. Yeah, well, we're still on lockdown here in LA too. It's just like I said, everybody is just kind of over it. I think everybody's just kind of doing their thing, and just kind of everybody's wearing masks, but for those of you that don't know, I caught COVID in the end of April, the beginning of May, and I had never been outside without a mask, and I was around very, very few people, uh, very few people when I caught it. So it's funny, in LA, these people have this misconception that, if you wear a mask, you're immune to COVID. Let me tell you, I was not wearing just a mask. I was wearing an N95 respirator, and I still got COVID. Chevy Life, what's going on, Trav? Good to see you, buddy. Have you seen the pics coming out of Wuhan, China? No, I haven't. I haven't been keeping up with China. I actually watched a video a few minutes ago, probably about an hour and a half ago. I was eating some sushi, and there was a girl that was, I'm friends with her on Instagram, and she had posted some pictures of Chinese street fashion, and it was actually pretty cool. They dress way more vogue, I guess what you would say, than us Americans do. But they actually do have some. If you're into fashion, which most men aren't, I'm not really into fashion myself. But being a photographer, I appreciate fashion, I should say. I don't dress that fashionably, but they do over there in China. Chevy Life says huge parties, no corona anywhere. It's over there. Well, it'll be over here in November as well, Travis. I'm sure you know that. As soon as the election's over, it doesn't matter how the election goes. If Biden wins, then we'll hear a whole. I'm predicting if Biden wins, we'll hear a whole change of tone of how, everything is, we got to look for the future. Everything's going to be getting better now. And it doesn't matter what's going on. There could be 5,000 people a day dying of COVID, and mass graves going on. And the new spin will be, we just have to look for the future, because now we're all saved, because big bad orange man is gone. So now everything is good in the world, and it doesn't matter if 100,000 people a day die in America, because now Trump's not in the office. So yeah, we just have to look for the future, look for our future. And that's going to be and then nobody will be wearing masks, and it'll just be what it is. I think a lot of people see that one coming. I ended up changing computers, and this one has a notification thing that I cannot figure out for the life of me how to turn off. My other computer, my Alienware, I switched it out with this Dell, and this Dell has a auto notification thing that just drives me up the wall. And I spent like 30 minutes trying to figure out how to turn it off, and I can't turn it off. Anyway, Chevy Life, Travis says, I want to start a mask burning challenge. That's funny. Yeah. I think a lot of people will be burning their mask at some point. The masks are getting old. It was funny because I had to go to Walmart earlier. So this is another thing I wanted to talk about. I had to go to Walmart earlier. I haven't been in Walmart in probably 3 weeks, month. I think the last time I was in Walmart, I was working out in Palm Springs. I stopped at a Walmart out in Palm Springs. So I haven't been in a Walmart in a while. I went into a Walmart today, everybody had a mask on, but then there was this hippie dude that did not have a mask on. And the funny thing is he had really long hair, like down the middle of his back, and he had a bandana that was tied around, like the old rocker days, or he like a pirate, like Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean. It was tied around his hair, which was really long, but he didn't have a mask on his face. And I just kind of looked at him and like, hey, what's up? Because I had a mask on, of course. I'm complying with, you know, everything you have to comply with. But he didn't have a mask on, and nobody was messing with him. I mean, people were giving him a second look, but nobody was giving him dirty looks. They were just kind of like looking at him like, wow, that guy doesn't have a mask on. And then it was funny because there was this really cute girl, and I was walking by her, and she looked at me, and I looked at her, and she smiled at me, which was a weird thing because I did not even know she smiled at me, except I could see that her eyes, they changed like to a smile, which was pretty weird. I apologize, guys. If you can hear this dinging notification thing, I've got to figure out how to get this thing turned off or disabled. It's always something. Anyway, I was going to rant and rave about the post office the other day on my podcast that was Friday. And because they want us to vote by mail, that's a whole agenda that they want us to vote by mail. And everywhere I've ever moved, I've had an absolute nightmare of a time with the post office. And when I lived in Long Beach, I give a whole drawn out story on Friday that nobody could hear because the sound wasn't working. Hopefully the sound is good today. Is the sound good? You guys hear me okay? If somebody had let me know. We have 8 people in the room, 7 thumbs up. I appreciate it, guys. Anyway, when I moved to Long Beach, my building was like a storefront where I had a gallery. And then I had thank you, Michael Walker. Appreciate that, buddy. And then I had he said the sound is good. And then I had like a warehouse on the back. And thanks, Chevy Life, Trav. And so at one time when the place was built back in the day, it was one address. It was like, I'm just going to use an address like 1046 4th Street, right? And then the landlord got smart, and it's what all of these California landlords do that own property. Hey, Melinda Becker, good to see you, girl. You finally made it in. Good to see you. Happy to see you. Joshua Rialto says, Joe Biden has just announced the new running mate, Alzheimer's new campaign slogan. Don't forget to vote for us. That's a good one, Joshua. I might have to steal that one and post it on my Facebook. That's a good one. Anyway, so yeah, my address was, let's say 1046 4th Street, right? And then the landlord got smart and he realized he could divide those and rent the front property out and rent the warehouse out by itself. So he went down and filed with the city of Long Beach and got a half address. So it was 1046 on the front and 1046 and a half in the back. And you see a lot of that in California because people will take a house. My Texas friends, I have no idea what I'm talking about. But say you have a 3-bedroom house. There's literally landlords that will take that house and build divider walls inside a house and make 3 or 4 different apartments out of that one house. And each one of those apartments will have an address. It'll be 34th and a third, 34th and a half, 34th and 3/4. It's crazy. I remember the first time somebody gave me an address and it was like 33 and a half. I was like, what? 33 and a half? That doesn't even make sense. I'd never even heard anything like that till I moved out here. What? Then probably asked top dollar. Yeah. And so anyway, when I first moved in the place, I had the whole building, but the back was where the mail came. And then I ended up getting rid of the front. No, I didn't have the front. That's what it was. I didn't initially have the front. I just rented the back, the half, the 1046 and a half. And the mail carrier would come by there and she would leave a note on my mailbox saying that she had mail for me, but I did not have a registered address with the city of Long Beach and that she would not deliver my mail. And there was like a couple of things that I was waiting for. Like one was a big check, like a $7,000 check, maybe 8,000, $7 or $8,000 check I was waiting for. So I was at the door every day watching her walk to go by. And then she'd never stopped at my mailbox. And then one day she stopped at the mailbox and she put this note, this sticker on my mailbox saying, I'm getting mail for you, but I will not deliver it because you do not have a approved city official address with the city of Long Beach. I was like, what? And so I knew that that check had already come in because I was waiting on it, and then like a week and a half went by after I thought I would get it, and she still wasn't delivering it. And my bills and everything were piling up, and I'm literally waiting on the other side of the door every day. She can't see me because I have this it's like a screen door, but it's like a burglar proof door that you couldn't really see through. I could see out it, but people couldn't see in. So I would literally be standing right there at the door and watch her walk by my mailbox every day going, damn, I guess it didn't come again today. And then I finally realized, like, wait a minute, I've been here for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. I haven't got one piece of mail yet in a month. That's weird. And then I didn't want to cause any ruckus. So I was like, well, maybe it just, maybe they're trying to get things transferred over or whatever. So I waited. And then finally, like I said, one day she puts a sticker thing on my mailbox saying, you have got all of this mail, but I will not deliver it to you because you do not have approved address. And I was like, oh my God. So once I figured that out, I was like, that check has probably been there a week already. It probably came in 2 weeks ago and she's not delivering it. So I immediately called the post office. It's like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The post office is fixing to close. And they say, yeah, the girl goes back and she goes, oh yeah, there's a bunch of mail for you. I'm like, does one look like a check? She goes, yeah, it looks like it could be a check. I'm like, God, how do I get it? Can I come in and get it? And then I can't remember what it was, but they wouldn't release it to me for some reason because of my address. They said I had to go to the city. So I was like, oh my God. And I had to call first I had to call my landlord, and my landlord had to go down to the city hall or whatever it is, and uh, the civil department or something, city hall, and talk to somebody about getting my address registered with the city so mail could be delivered at my address. So I called my landlord. Well, I texted him first, like, just livid, like, dude, you're charging me all of this rent and this place is not even legal. And you've never even went through the legal process of registering this address with the city. And now I can't get my mail. I was just livid with him. And then he came right back at me like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're not the first person that's lived there. He goes, people have been getting mail there since like 2004. And this is like 2010, 2011. And I was like, well, I'm talking to the mail lady. The mail lady put a thing on my mailbox saying that she will never deliver mail here until you register this apartment legally with the city. And she says it's not legally registered with the city. And he goes, no, it is. He goes, yeah, of course it is. He goes, I wouldn't have leased it to you if it wasn't. I couldn't lease it to you if it wasn't. That would be illegal. So I said, so that's what I thought he was doing. I thought he was leasing it to me illegal and under the table, because the city would have to prove it as a residence and, everything that they have to do. And so I said, well, I'm not getting my mail. And the mail lady says she will not deliver it because this is not a legal address. And he goes, you need to go to the post, or he goes, you need to go to the city and talk to, and he gave me a name of city inspector or something. So he gave me a name, and then I went the very next morning. I got up like at 6 o'clock, and I was there by 9:30. And I go in and I meet with this Hispanic chick. She's real cool. She's like 25, 26 years old. And she's a city developer or does these approvals or whatever. And I tell her my dilemma, like, hey, the U.S. Post Office is saying that my address is not legal. I've called my landlord. He assures me that it is legal and past tenants have gotten mail there. And I don't understand why they won't deliver mail, but the mail lady says she will not deliver mail because it's not a legal address that's registered with the city. And she goes, well, that's exactly right. If your landlord is legally leasing that property to you, the United States Postal Service will not deliver mail to it because it's not a legal address. And I said, well, my landlord assures me that it is, and that he registered it like 10 years ago, or 2004 to 2010. So she goes, well, let me look. What's the address again? And I give her the address, 1046 and a half. And she goes, oh, it's a half. And I said, yeah, 1046 and a half. And so she puts it in 1046 and a half, 4th Street. She goes, oh, yeah, it's been registered. Let's see, your landlord's name is so-and-so, so-and-so. It looks like he registered it on August the 27th of 2004. And the people should have been getting mail from there for the last 10 years. I'm like, what? It's like, this doesn't even make any sense. I said, then why would the post office all of a sudden say it's not a legal address if they've been delivering mail there for 10 years? This doesn't even make sense. She goes, I don't know. She goes, but let me give you a printout so you can take it to the post office. I was like, oh my God. Okay. So she prints me a thing out showing that it's a legal address. I take it to the post office the very next morning, and I talk to my postal carrier's boss, the lady that was my letter carrier. I walk into her boss's office, and her boss, I give her the paper and I explain the situation to her. I'm like, look, I've been, and this whole process had taken like 2 months. I've lived in this place like 2 months now. It all drug out. It's not like it all happened over just immediately. This thing drug out for like 2 months. I've been living there for 2 months and never received a piece of mail, never received a bill, never received a piece of mail. And most importantly, I'd never received this $8,000 check that I needed because I spent all of this money on my deposit and my first month's rent when I moved into my place. So to replenish my funds, I was waiting on this $8,000 check that should have been in when I moved in. I figured I would move in and I would get the check in a couple of days after I moved in. This has been 2 months. Still haven't got the check. So anyway, I give the piece of paper from the city to my letter carrier's boss. She looks at it and she's like, yeah. She looks at her computer and she goes, yeah, it's always been a legal address for the last 10 years. She goes, who told you this? And I said, my postal carrier. Like, I literally screamed at her like a few days, or like it'd been like 2 weeks ago. I literally screamed at her. I was so irate. And she was like, I'm not delivering any mail to your address until you get it legal. I'm not. She goes, I have your mail in my bag. You're not getting it until you get your mail, until you get your address legal. So I was like, and so I told her boss this. And I said, she has my mail every day she walks by. She has it in her little bag. And she just tells me, you're not getting it. So anyway, the postal lady goes, let me go look in the back. And so she goes in the back and she comes back with a whole box full of my mail. And of course, the check was in there. And I explained to her that I've been waiting on this check for 2 months, that I needed it bad. And she gives me all of my mail. And she looks at me and she goes, don't you worry, honey. She goes, you'll get your mail from now on. I said, thank you. She goes, I'm going to talk to what she knew or what her name was. She goes, I'm going to have a talk with her when she comes back around because this doesn't even make sense. All she had to do was look at the computer. And she goes, I don't know why she would all of a sudden think that was not a legitimate address. But anyway, so that got straightened out. And then I moved out to Joshua Tree like 3.5 years later, 4 years later. And I went through a whole nother rigmarole with the Joshua Tree post office, which is 135 miles, 136 miles from Long Beach. And I went through a whole other thing with the post office out there because I had a mailbox that was at the street or at the road. And the road, I was on 5 acres. So the road was a little bit from my house, from the front of my house. So anytime that I ordered an Amazon package or anything, the mail carrier would not drive down my drive and drop it at my door. I had to go pick it up at the post office, which was a nightmare. So I asked him, well, is there anything I can do? Can I pay like an extra fee to get you to drop it at my door at the house? And she's like, nope, you just have to come to the post office and get it. Well, they would leave me one of those little pink things that says you got a package and you can pick it up at the post office at a certain time. So needless to say, I'm not a big fan of the post office. And now we're wanting to use them for the election, which I think is an absolute joke. They're one of the most incompetent. They're one of the most incompetent services that is on the face of the earth that we have in America. They're one of the most incompetent. And all of these socialist kids that want socialism, Mises has a famous quote about how socialism promises the Garden of Eden, but all they do is deliver a post office with every person being a subordinate post office clerk. And it couldn't be any more accurate. If you don't know who Mises is, look up Mises. And he was a big opponent of socialism back in like the late 1800s, early 1900s. And a lot of the Marxists, there's Marx, Karl Marx, and then there's Mises. And Mises is who I've always, because he was a big opponent of capitalism. So I love Mises and his quotes. But anyway, so what got me off on the rant is them wanting to use the post office for our voting, to do mail-in voting. And what got me on the post office is I just moved into this office, and guess what I'm having problems with? I got it sorted out today, but it was very stressful because I came in Friday and I was waiting on this RAM right here, and I had like 4 other packages. I ordered a new phone case for my new phone, and then I was getting this RAM for my other Alienware PC, and this is not cheap, and a couple of other little things. And so Friday, I checked the packages, and it said they were delivered to my mailbox. So I have a mailbox here in the mailbox room. So I go to the mailbox room, just really giddy excited. And guess what? There's no packages in my mailbox. But when I look at I ordered this off of eBay. So it's got a tracking number. And when I look at the tracking number, it tells me that it's been delivered. But it's not in my mailbox. So there's another set of mailboxes outside that are actually for the buildings across from us. So I'm like, well, if she delivered it to, or if he or she delivered it to the mailbox, maybe they delivered it to those mailboxes by mistake. So I went out there. There's a couple of mailboxes that are open. I looked in those. It's not there. I came in here and looked in these, not there. So I was like, oh my God, here we go again with the post office. So anyway, I called this first thing this morning. I got to call and start getting on this to make sure there was going to be a big ordeal with the post office. So I called this morning and was able to find out that they had figured it out. They had figured out that there was a problem, but they figured out what was going on. And by the time I got into the office, all of my packages were in my mailbox here in the mailbox room. Thank goodness. So I was just like, oh no, not another post office dilemma. But then the funny thing about it is I ordered a new pure sine wave inverter, and it's sitting right here on the floor, and it came FedEx, and they had no problem whatsoever. And the FedEx driver actually called me and left me a voicemail and said, hey, Mr. Holly, for Rav Media Group, I just left and I haven't even changed my door placard yet. I've got to get my door placard done because it still says the previous business form that was in this office. So I've got to get my Rav Media placard done. So it's just got the door number and the previous company. So my suite is 211, and then it's got the old company, which was a software company. But he left it right at my door, and he called me and left me a message and said, hey, this is your FedEx driver. I'm just letting you know that I left the package right there at your door. If I don't hear back from you, then I'll know you got it and everything's good. And if I left it at the wrong spot or whatever, give me a call and let me know so we can get this sorted out. That is private industry. They care. They what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, they're a service industry. The post office isn't. The post office is just what do they call government employees? I mean, they're just government employees just going through the motions. If you go to a post office compared to a FedEx office, it's 2 totally different things. Yeah, you pay a little bit more for the FedEx. That's true. The post office is the cheapest, but there's an old adage, you get what you pay for. So anyway, that's my rant on the post office. And if we're going to use the post office for vote by mail, we should all have our heads examined because the post office is the most incompetent service industry in the United States that I can think of. Let's see. Trav from Chevy Life says, fourth day now. They ring the bell. I answer the door and there's a missed you note and they're driving off. Oh yeah, for sure. That's yeah. They don't want to do their job, or they want to make it just as inconvenient for you as they possibly can. When they could have the thing there in their hand and ring the doorbell and wait for you to open the door, they just jump out with their little pink thing and they fill it out, which it takes them longer to fill that out, telling you can pick it up. But that's the post office. I can't, I mean, if we got rid of them, I wouldn't, if we got rid of the post office, it would not, I mean, I'm sure there was be some things I would miss, but most of the things I wouldn't. Um, so Quasi says technically they are not government employees. Well, they sure act like government employees. They definitely have the government employee mentality because they sure don't act like FedEx employees, and they sure don't act like UPS employees. UPS employees get you your stuff. So that's like what I was going to say. Since I've moved into this office, I've gotten stuff from UPS and I've gotten stuff from FedEx. When I lived in Joshua Tree, the FedEx driver would drive right up to my door and deliver everything right there to me, to my door. The post office, nope, they wouldn't drive it to my door. I would have to go all the way to the post office and get it. Quasi says, Chevy Life says, I can read your comment, Matilda. Melinda says, I always have problems with it. Quasi says, can't get rid of it because it's in the Constitution. It would take a lot. Well, you don't have to get rid of it. If they don't have enough money to operate it, they won't have it. It won't be a service. Agree with issues with UPS over any other delivery service. Yeah. If they would just get it together. But I mean, it goes, let's see, Melinda Becker says, nope, UPS is a customer service type of thing. Yes, so is FedEx. My whole deal is if I go to a, if any of us go to a post office and go in there, and it doesn't matter what post office I go to, maybe it's different for you, but any post office I go to, the people that are working in the post office are mean. They're rude. They act like they're doing you a huge favor. Next, do you have your note? You're not supposed to be in this line. You're supposed to be over there. That's where you pick up your packages, over there, not this line. That kind of business. It's ridiculous. They act like they don't want to be there, but they're getting paid. But if you go to a FedEx pickup, which sometimes I go and I have to pick something up at the FedEx office, they're just as nice and friendly, and and it's nice, and there's air conditioning in there. You go to a post office, it's like a freaking jail. It's like a prison. Melinda Becker says, did you know you can mail letters for 2 cents? I'll share it with you. It's crazy. Yeah. Well, that's part of the problem though, Melinda, is it's it's not enough money. Evidently, they don't charge enough money. But then that's why FedEx and UPS exist, because if the post office would, if they up their prices and actually competed with FedEx and UPS, then it would probably put UPS and FedEx out of business. But because it's the same way with the Uber. I mean, we could talk about Uber and Lyft. It's the exact same thing. So if you take a taxi cab, which a taxi cab is a private enterprise, but taxi cabs are so incompetent that they created an entire different industry called Lyft and Uber, because the general public was so sick and tired of their bullshit service of taxi cabs, tired of getting ripped off, tired of getting in a taxi cab and knowing exactly where you're supposed to go, and they go a completely different way so they can ring up the meter. Yeah, don't get me started on taxi cabs. It's even a longer rant than the post office. And taxi cabs is not a government industry. It's a private enterprise. just like FedEx or UPS. But their service is so bad because they had a monopoly on it that somebody created a whole different avenue. And now I mean, I would almost walk before I would take a taxi. If I can't get an Uber or a Lyft, then I'll have to call a friend. I don't even think taxi. I'll never forget that when I said the last time I would take a taxi, I flew into Dallas. I lived here in LA. I flew into Dallas, and my hotel was right across from DFW. But if you know DFW Airport, it's a city in itself. If you've ever spent any time in DFW Airport, so my hotel was on the other side of the freeway from the airport, but I could see it right there. But you couldn't walk across the freeway, so I got a taxi to take me just right there. It was literally like a half a mile just across the freeway. So I called to see how much it would be, and they said the dispatcher girl goes, "Oh, that's a $15 cab ride." I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "Jesus Christ." I said, "You're going to charge me $15 just to shuttle me across the freeway to my hotel." And she's like, "Yeah, that's how much it is." And the problem is the hotel had a free shuttle, but I got in like late, late, late. So it's like 11:30. So their shuttle was already not running. And so anyway, the taxi picks me up, shuttles me right across. It doesn't take 5 minutes to get across over there. I mean, he basically picks me up. I put my stuff in. He drives across. I get out, get my go to get my stuff out, and he's got the meter running. And I'm thinking, huh? She quoted me $15. So it's going to be weird if it goes to more than that. So I'm concentrating on the meter. And it was weird because he must have programmed it, because when we arrived at the hotel, it said $15 on the meter. I was like, oh, okay. Well, it's on. They are honest. Thank goodness. And he's an Indian guy. And he goes, okay, that just be the $35. I said, what? I thought I misunderstood him. I said, because I had a $20 bill. I was going to give him a $20 bill and give him a $5 tip. And he goes, it'll be $35, sir. I'm sitting in the back seat going, excuse me, it's $15, right? He goes, no, sir, it's $35. I said, the meter says $15. What are you talking about? And he turns the light on. He clicks the light and he goes, you see right there, sir, it's $15 surcharge. Every passenger riding car, you pay $15 car fee. I was like, what? I said, that's $30. What's the other $5 for? And then I can't remember what he said, but yeah. Anyway, I paid him the $35. He didn't get a tip. And it was funny because he said something. He goes, "Oh, no tips, sir." I said, "Oh no, if it was $15, I was giving you a $5 tip, but since you ripped me off, you're not getting a fucking thing." And I said, "And I'll never take another taxi cab again as long as I live." I said, "If I have to walk 100 miles, I'll never take a taxi again." And so far, knock on wood, I've never had to take a taxi again. And I spent several years with not being able to, or not taking a taxi when I needed a taxi. And then when all of a sudden I heard about this Lyft or this Uber thing, I was like, what? Let me check this out. And so I have used Lyft and Uber since they very first come out. Let's get back to the chat here. Melinda Becker says there are rules and statutes stating that the regular mail under a half an ounce, you can send letters for 2 cents. It changed once. It became the United States Postal Service. Linda Becker says they sure seem like they charge enough money. Linda Becker goes, a lot of people will use UPS mainly because of their service. I have a husband who works for UPS. Oh, well, okay. Well, I love UPS. I just like when, I mean, the thing about it is if the FedEx loses my package, if they damage my package, whatever they do, they will do whatever they can to make it right. If the post office does it, they want to ignore it. They don't want to do anything about it. They don't, those, oh, well, we can give you this much money. This is all we can give you. There's a flat rate for that. It's ridiculous. Travis goes, remember our Uber girl that night in Fort Worth? Oh yeah, she was super cute. Yeah, I was really flirty with her. I do remember that. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, and it's funny, Trav. You know me very well because we were in where were we at? Fort Worth. Yeah, Fort Worth. We were going to the downtown, like where the stockyards and stuff were, and we drove up from Trav's house, and we got a hotel room there in Fort Worth. And then Travis was trying to figure out. He was like, "How are we going to get downtown? And then how are we going to drink and do all of our stuff? Because I don't want to be drinking and driving." And I'm like, brother, we're taking an Uber, bro. We are not drinking and driving. That's what Uber, you got to love Uber. Because, Texas, they catch on things like that a little bit later than everybody. Oh, yeah, Martha, that was her name. Yeah, she was super cute. And I still can't believe I didn't get her number. Did she say she had a boyfriend? I can't remember. But anyway, yeah. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of Uber. I'm a big fan of anyone that takes pride in, the service that they offer. So anyway, guys, we just hit 45 minutes and we just hit 45 minutes and I'm going to run this for an hour. So we got about 15 minutes left. And before we finish this podcast today, since we got 15 minutes, I have a little order of business I have to take care of that I forgot about on Friday. And for the ladies, Matilda, any of the other ladies that are watching the podcast here, I tried to do this before and I failed at it miserably. I still owe Mr. Jim Brooks. I still owe him a Who t-shirt that I never got sent to him. So Matilda, who else do we have in here, ladies? Looks like it's just you, Matilda and Melinda. I don't see if we have any other ladies in here. If we have any more ladies in here, comment, because if you comment, leave me a comment, ladies. All the ladies are going to be in the drawing for the day for this beautiful pink I Heart America COVID mask that we're giving away. So if you want a pink mask, I'm going to send it to you free of charge for the best comment of the day for the ladies. Or if you want the mask, give me a reason that you want the mask. But this is today's free giveaway. And I just got to get on the ball. I'm the world's worst at shipping stuff. But and the funny thing is Matilda said, "Woot woot." That might be the winning That might be the winning combination right there, Matilda. Woot woot. It's so funny because I'm the world's worst when it comes to. Did you assume my gender joking? I didn't say you, Quasi. Oh, I might have assumed. Are you a girl, Quasi? I don't know exactly who you are, Quasi. Are we friends on Facebook? Maybe I do know you and I just don't know you by your YouTube name. Okay, you're not a girl. I didn't think you were a girl, Quasi, so I guess I did assume your gender. And there are only two genders. If you didn't know, now you know. And if you think there's 15 genders, let me ask you this. When you get a dog, do people ask you what gender your dog is, and do you give them 15 different genders? Quasi says, no, watched your videos. Oh, awesome, Quasi. Well, welcome. Mask matches pink background. Yes, it does. But the funny thing is if you don't win this mask today, I guess I need to figure out some kind of competition, I guess. I actually have a couple more masks. So if you don't get the pink one, then hang on, because I'm going to be doing a podcast on Wednesday. And just for the ladies right now, it's just for the ladies that watch the show. So I have a purple one and then I have a green one. So we're going to be giving all of these away. And today is the pink one. Or actually, what I might do is just let you choose. Whoever wins today, I'll let you choose which color you want. The teal, the purple, or the pink. I guess I should have done my freaking if I was smart, I would have done my thumbnail and just titled the podcast today free giveaway. People would have probably come to that more than anything else. Anyway, wow, assuming sheesh, Rav. I know I'm such a bad boy. If I haven't offended you yet, just wait a minute, because I will eventually. Melinda Becker says, haha, you know I don't do masks. I get kicked out of places for not having them. Then Melinda, you're out of the drawing. So Matilda, it looks like you may be getting a pink mask today. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, my whole thing is this is America. So if you want to wear a mask, you should wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, you shouldn't have to wear a mask. Should be no mandating thing for a mask. Now, I will say that I was very pro mask. Well, there is a hermaphrodite insects and animals. So yeah, there's hermaphrodite people too, but it's very, very rare. So they're not their own gender. They're dual genders. And then they still are basically labeled what their hermaphrodite is basically labeled whatever their domineering gender is. So if they look like a girl, but they have the parts of a boy and a girl, they're still considered a female. The doctors will usually name them whatever they are. They don't let them choose. They go, oh, it's a female. Oh, it's a male. Because they do have domineering traits of one sex or the other, even if they're hermaphrodites. Correct? That's science, right? Everybody always says I'm a science denier. Not true, not true. Matilda says, I win by default. That's an easy one right there, Matilda, right? Melinda Becker laughs. Gary Miller, what's up, Gary? Hey, Ralph, thoughts on forced vaccinations, military to administer, etc. Oh, that made my nose itch, man. Somebody's talking about me. Yeah, that's not very American. That's even less American than the masks. Forced vaccination, that's yeah. I'm not down with that at all. That should be a voluntary thing. I don't even know. I mean, it's, but the government can come up with some way like you can't buy groceries if you haven't been vaccinated. You can't enter a store. Instead of having a mask, you have to have a vaccination on your real ID or whatever that shows you've been vaccinated. That could be, that's some 1984, the novel 1984 stuff right there, which I don't agree with at all. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm not big into vaccinations. I mean, my deal is I was vaccinated as a child, and that was when I was like 5. And then I was supposed to get vaccinated again when I got into high school, and then I never got vaccinated. They kept sending my mom things saying I had to be vaccinated when I entered the 9th grade. And she kept telling them that she was taking me. And then she would tell me, hey, I got to take you to get your shots for school. And I'd be like, okay. And then I would be gone. So I never did get re-inoculated once I reached high school. I told them they could go themselves. Quasi says, Matilda name makes me think of the movie Matilda, even though it's spelled different. Yeah, exactly. I actually was trying to pronounce it wrong at one time. And then I realized, oh, it's just Matilda, but it has an I in there. LOL, I've never seen that movie. I've never seen it either, but I know. I've heard of it. I was the same way when it comes to anything. No one should be able to say what I can or can't put. Exactly. Yep. I'm a total rebel when it comes to things like that. And I think there's going to be I think it'll be a cold day in hell before they get everybody. I think that's going to be a huge government revolt. If you see, we've seen the left do their revolt over the George Floyd thing. I think if they come out with a Bill Gates vaccination and think they're going to force everybody to take this vaccination, I think it's going to be war. Because I don't think people are going to, I would imagine that 50% of the population are going to tell them to go F themselves. Oh my gosh, Matilda, are you kidding me? Thank you so much. That's so awesome of you. You didn't have to do that. I'm trying to give you a free mask and you give me a freaking $20 super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. Let me, I have a little thing up here that I try to do when somebody hits me with a super chat. If I can get it to work here. Let's see. Now I got to make sure I spell your name right. Bear with me, guys. I got to set up Matilda's. If you didn't see, Matilda hit me with a $20 super chat. So I have a little deal that I use for people that do that. Bam. There you go, Matilda. Thank you so much. If you have anything, I don't know if you have a Instagram or if you have anything you want to plug, Matilda, you just let me know and we'll advertise it for you. Can you read that? It looks like it's backwards. I think it's just the way I'm looking at it on my screen. I need to flip my screen. I don't know how to do that on YouTube. Anyway, so Melinda Becker says vaccines are good in theory, but they have so much garbage in them. I bet Bill Gates gets pure vaccines. You know, the thing about it is that's my biggest complaint about vaccines because I was vaccinated. I think most of us we all had to be inoculated before we could go to school when I was a child. But the deal is I've did some reading into this and because one of my best friends, his oldest son who passed away, his son had autism and Kawasaki disease. And so they're convinced that it was the vaccinations that caused it. And so they're very anti-vaxxers. Matilda says, cute graphic. Thanks, Rav. You're very welcome, Matilda. Thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat so much. Thank you. And you're going to need to get a hold of me at ravholly at gmail.com and send me your information so I can get you your mask and let me know which one you want. The pink, purple, or teal. They all say the same thing. It's just I heart America. Anyway, yeah, we all got inoculated, but I did some research, and when I was going into school, the vaccines had five different things in it that was manufactured with like five different things. And now there's over like 28 different things in a vaccine. And my question is if those vaccines that had five things in it was good enough for me and it's lasted my lifetime, what I don't understand is why is there 28 things in a vaccine today? And now we're having all of these vaccine injuries. When I was a child, we didn't have one kid in our entire school system that had autism. And now it's like one out of every 10 kids or one out of every 8 or 7 children is born with autism. What's causing this if it's not vaccines? And why can't these powers that be figure out what that is? Because that doesn't make sense. There was autism evidently, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but it was very few and far between. It's like I tell everybody, when I was a child, I never even heard of autism. I didn't hear of autism until about 94 when Rain Man came out with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise. That's the first time I ever heard the word autism. I didn't even know what it was. And then we all were running around after watching Rain Man going, that'd be so cool to have autism when you could be a genius and count cards, or you'd know how to play the piano without just, you listen to a song and know how to play it on the piano. That was what autism was. It was this big hyper thing in the media after Rain Man came out. And then all of a sudden, after Rain Man comes out, autism explodes. There's autism everywhere. All these parents are coming out saying their children have been injured by vaccines, and there's this big thing of autism. When I was a child, I never heard of autism. We were like, what? There was no I never, like, there was no kid in my entire school system that had autism. You know what we were worried about? If you didn't get the polio vaccine, you could get polio, but we were thankful that we did have the polio vaccine, so you did not get polio. Because I had an uncle that had polio and he had to have braces on his legs. And I remember being a little kid, like seeing pictures of him when he was a little kid and he had these braces on his legs. I was like, what was that? And I'll never forget my grandmother, who was his mother, said, "Oh, your Uncle Bobby had polio." I was like, holy crap. I remember being a little kid going, why? And he had to wear those things on his legs, just like Forrest Gump, except it was because he had polio and his legs were bending. So they put these braces to keep his legs straight. So, yeah, the polio vaccine was a blessing. So let's put it like that. Uh, but oh, I lost my train of thought talking about Matilda says, I'm older than you, though. You're older than who? Let's see. Melinda Becker says, yes, right. How can I put that in my child for money to keep them longer and cheaper? It's fillers. Yeah, it's fillers. There's mercury. JBK. What happened to calling out Philip DeFranco? JBK, where have you been? If you watched the very first of the podcast is when I called out Philip DeFranco. I'll hit on it really quick, though. We just passed an hour. I was going to keep this podcast an hour, but we'll go a little bit longer. But yeah, forced vaccinations, I don't see it. I don't see that. I don't see it happening. I know that they're pushing towards that. What I want to say really quick, yeah, you did miss it, JBK, but I'll touch on it again really quick before we close it up. The last thing I'm going to say about vaccines is think about this. Ebola was found in 1986. There's still not a vaccine for Ebola. If the Ebola virus breaks out, and when it breaks out, there's no vaccine for Ebola. They've been working on a Ebola vaccine since around 1990, and they still don't have one. H1N1 has been around for 20 years. When H1N1 broke out in 2015, and we had the huge H1N1 scare, they said that they had a vaccine, and they even administered it. They tested it in Africa, and then they said it worked, and then they started giving it to Americans. Well, guess what? It didn't work. The H1N1 vaccine did not work. They still do not have a vaccine. They made one. It just didn't work. So today, right now, if H1N1 was to break out again, there's no vaccine for it. So this whole idea that they're just going to magically snap their fingers and going to have a vaccine for COVID, I just don't, I'm very leery of that. I know they're working on it very hard, but I've said before, I don't think we're going to have one for 5 years, and I still stand by that. And or I should say, a working vaccine. Now I bought stock in Moderna and Invax, both of the big two pharmaceutical companies in the United States. I bought shares of Moderna and Invax, Novotrum or whatever it is, back in February or March. So if they do come up with one, then hopefully, my stock has went up in both of those companies. People were asking me what to buy. That's what I was telling them. Linda Becker says viruses are dead. You can't kill something that is dead. Yeah, very true. I selectively vaccinated. I do tetanus, but I can't get it separate because it didn't make money. Bill Gates wants to get rid of people. Yeah, that's the whole depopulation thing with the NWO. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, they've been talking about that for years. Is that what's coming? Maybe that's what's really coming to fruition. Anyway, JBK, let me touch on Philip DeFranco again, since you missed it at the first of the show. So, yeah, I'm railing against Philip DeFranco. I watch his show every day on YouTube. It's my favorite news show on YouTube, and I watch it just to kind of get a quick synopsis of what's going on in the world, because he, if there's something important that's happened, he touches base on it, and then he also talks about the YouTube creator community. So I always watch his show to get the key points of what's going on in the world and what's going on with YouTube. And he is railing. He is super, super upset with these influencers here in Los Angeles, these kids. They're late teens, early 20s, the Jake Paul influencers, these multi-million-dollar kids that are throwing parties. They're having all these house parties here in LA. And Philip DeFranco was very, very upset about this, calling these kids garbage humans and talking. I mean, he just, if you watch the show today, he just ranted for a good 10 minutes about these kids, calling them garbage humans and, how they're so selfish and how we're never going to get back to normal because of these kids throwing these house parties. And that there's one kid is telling on him, calling Mayor Garcetti to turn them in, so that trying to get the mayor to turn their power and their water off if they're partying to their house. And it's so hypocritical, because when there was 20,000 people in the streets of LA with no mask on, breaking into stores, stealing Nikes, or just out there protesting in the street, Philip DeFranco didn't have anything to say about that, about COVID wise. He had plenty to say about it as go BML, but he didn't have anything to say about it being a super COVID spreader, the super COVID spreader. What people don't realize is uh, from January of this year, of 2020, all the way up until May 25th, when George Floyd died, right? From January to May, January, February, March, April, May, 5 months of the year, we had 22,000 cases of COVID-19, 22,000 positive cases of COVID-19 in Los Angeles County. Then May 25th, George Floyd died. I think I've got my dates right. If I don't, my brain doesn't operate like it used to, but I think my dates are right. I believe it was May 25th that George Floyd was killed. And as soon as George Floyd was killed and we had the riots that lasted for 4 or 5 days, 2 weeks after the riots had ended, we had an extra 45,000 cases in 2 weeks. So in 5 months, from January, February, March, April, May, we had 22,000 cases in Los Angeles County. And then we had the riots that went on, or the looting and the riots and the protests that went on for a week. And then as soon as those ended, within 2 weeks after the riots and the protesting ended, the major riots and protesting, within 2 weeks after that, in 2 weeks, we got 45,000 cases that pushed Los Angeles County to, what is that? 40, 60, 70, 72,000 cases. So for 5 months, we were at 22,000 cases. Then all of a sudden, in 2 weeks, we went to 72,000 cases. But everybody from the Wall Street Journal, I saw Forbes magazine, NBC, LA, I seen every news organization, and Philip DeFranco as well, on their shows or on their papers or on their websites saying, protests have been proven. It's not been proven. It's been proven that protests don't spread COVID. What? Protests don't spread COVID. So you mean to tell me you can do anything you do, anything, you can get COVID? They got a guy out here in like Santa Monica or Malibu that was out on the ocean paddleboarding by himself. They called him in. The cops called him in and wrote him a citation. Guess he could get COVID out there in the middle of the ocean paddleboarding by himself. If you go to a church, yeah, you're going to get COVID. If you go to a Trump rally, oh, now you're going to get COVID and you're going to die. Everybody that goes to a Trump rally, you're just selfish and self-centered, and yeah, you're going to kill everybody and you're going to kill grandma. But if you go to a protest, you're good. No problem. Doesn't matter if there's 50,000 people. If it's a protest, you're fine. There's no spreading in a protest. So what I say is, if you're going to do anything, let's say you're going to have a family reunion with a backyard barbecue, just make some BLM signs, cut some, take a box. Like if you've moved and you have some of those U-Haul boxes, just cut the flaps off of those boxes where you close the box and just write BLM and Black Lives Matter on there, and just have it at your barbecue and call your barbecue a protest, and COVID won't even show up. COVID-19 won't even show up. It'll go next door to the barbecue next door because that's a barbecue. But you're having a barbecue protest, so you'll be just fine. It just doesn't make any sense. That's the hypocritical that drives me up the wall. And it's the reason you see me on my Facebook page stirring the pot so much for those of you that are on my Facebook page. Um, if you didn't see my George Floyd joke, it was very insensitive. I'm not going to say it wasn't. A lot of people got mad at me over it, and I'm not going to say they didn't. But I'm going to say is if you haven't figured it, hey, S'more, what's going on? Or is too good to only have 8 viewers. I appreciate that, S'more. That's awesome. Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate that. Welcome, S'more. I'm getting ready to shut this down. We were going to shut it down in an hour, but I'm going a little bit extra because we have a few people in here and I'm just on my soapbox ranting. But anyway, yeah, so lost my train of thought. But yeah, it's so hypocritical to me that you can do anything and get COVID, but if it's a protest, you're good. And nobody says anything about it. The media doesn't say anything about it. Philip Defranco doesn't say anything about it. Matilda says, S'more agree, S'more agree. That's hilarious. Oh, so I lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. So back to my George Floyd. If you didn't see on my Facebook page a few days ago, I made a post and it said something to the effect of, "It's a great day, America. Today, George Floyd has been clean, sober, and drug free for almost 90 days." Now that is a fact. I don't care how distasteful that is. It is a fact. Now, is it distasteful? Yes. Is it insensitive? Yes. Uh, am I a piece of crap human for saying that? Yeah, a lot of people that lean far left think so. But this is the reason that I say things like that. And I say a lot of insensitive things on my Facebook page. And no, but a lot of people haven't figured it out, especially a lot of my good friends that know me very well. They think it's out of character for me, and it is out of character for me. I'm not one to always like stir the pot, or haven't been in the past. But the reason I'm doing it today is because comedians like George Carlin are dead. George Carlin died. He is no longer around. And when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, I leaned pretty left. And George Carlin was my favorite comedian because he always said stuff that made people freaking super uncomfortable. There's still YouTube videos of him using the N word, just blatantly using the N word. But the thing about George Carlin was he was the number one liberal. He was the number one liberal. He was the biggest liberal. He was the Bill Maher. He was bigger. He was a bigger liberal than Bill Maher. He was a bigger liberal than anybody. Everybody looked up to George Carlin because he was the king liberal, and he would say whatever was on his mind. He was the liberal. And now all of the George Carlins on the left are gone. And if there are any more George Carlins, they're scared to say anything. And I think people need to say things that are insensitive, to hurt people's feelings, to make people uncomfortable, because people are too worried about their feelings these days. You're just too worried about your feelings. I mean, I grew up in a generation that, I said this on one of my last podcasts, that I was being picked on in elementary school, and my teacher, Miss Cargill, who was gorgeous, she basically just pulled me aside one day and she said, "Look, if those kids are saying mean things to you, you just say to those kids, 'Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.' And then just laugh and they'll leave you alone." And I did. And it was miraculous how right she was, because I would get so upset. I'd get so upset and sad and angry for these kids making fun of me, or calling me names or whatever. And then I went and told on them. And then it was so funny because Miss Cargill, it's so funny how times have changed. Because you know what Miss Cargill told me? She goes, "You shouldn't tell on people unless they're really doing something really bad. You shouldn't tell on people." And now everybody's like, "You need to go tell." Like I seen people with my George Floyd post. There was a whole group of people going, "Did you report him to Facebook? Make sure you report him to Facebook for hate speech." You're the piece of crap, not me. And that's what these people don't get. What's wrong with the country. Everybody wants to tell because somebody said something that made them uncomfortable or hurt their feelings. And then people are calling me racist for that, George. There's nothing racist about it. It doesn't matter if he was white, green, yellow, or black. Uh, it is what it is. And if you find it racist, that's on you. That's not on me, because I didn't say this black guy, the black guy, George Floyd. I just said George Floyd has been clean and sober for 90 days. And that's a fact. And if you don't know about George Floyd's rap sheet, it's very long and extensive. And one of the crimes that he committed that doesn't sit well with me at all, I think about his victim, seeing him martyred and me driving around LA and seeing these big pictures of his face like he was some Messiah or some Jesus. This man he was like 6'6". He held a loaded gun to a pregnant woman's belly while his hood friends, they dressed up like as the water department. They even got like uniforms and walked to her door and made it look like they were like city utility employees. And then they broke in and robbed her and did an armed house invasion. And then George Floyd went to prison in Texas. And the numbers are a little bit weird. Somebody said it was 5 years, but I think it was 9 years. I think he got 9 years in prison in Texas for this crime that he committed in 2007. So when people say the system failed George Floyd, I absolutely totally agree with you, but I don't agree with you where the system failed George Floyd. Every leftist says the system failed George Floyd because a public servant that is paid to serve and protect George Floyd actually put a knee in his neck and suffocated him. That's true. But where the system really, George Floyd would still be alive if the system hadn't have failed him before that day. And where the system really failed George Floyd is George Floyd should have never gotten out of prison. You don't do a armed home invasion and hold a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach, even if she wasn't pregnant, holding a gun to a woman's stomach, doing a home invasion to get to looking for drugs and money, and shit. They ended up stealing all of her jewelry. And you don't do an armed home invasion and just get 9 years for that. He should have went away for 19 to life for that. He should still be in prison today. Yeah, and that's where the system failed George Floyd, because yeah, 9 years wasn't even in my opinion 9 years, and I'm actually disappointed in my home state of Texas because he did it in Texas. And he should have got a lot longer. I'm thinking more like 29 years. I mean, there's people that's done 30 years for minor drug possession. This man held a loaded gun, and then he had several other crimes before he did that. I mean, there was crimes going back to 1999 where he did an armed robbery. He had been arrested for several drug charges. He had had an armed robbery. He had had a criminal trespassing. He had a whole rap sheet. He was always committing crimes to fuel his drug habit and his drug fiending habit. And the day that he died, he passed off a counterfeit $20 bill, and a citizen called the police on him for that fake $20 bill. And you will see the narrative on Facebook, people going, he passed a a fake $20 bill that actually ended up not being fake. That's bullshit. It was a fake $20 bill. And not only did he have a fake $20 bill, he had other fake money, counterfeit money, wadded up counterfeit money in his vehicle that is in evidence and is going to be coming out in the court case. And I have a picture of that money. So anyway, that's going to do it, guys. We're at 118. We're going to take it to 120. I'm trying to keep these around an hour because I don't want to talk you guys' ears off. And then, because I'm doing the show more frequently now. So I know back when I first started this podcast, I would go sometimes for 2 hours a lot of times. And I think that's a little bit long when I'm going to be doing them more frequently now. So anyway, Matilda, make sure let me type my address, my email address in here, and you send me your shipping information, and I will be shipping you out. Let me know again, Matilda, if you want the pink, purple, or teal. This one's like a green teal color, like turquoise teal. Let me know which mask you want. It says I love America on it. or I Heart America. So let me know which mask you want, and I'll get that out to you. Already done. Okay, awesome, Matilda. I'll check it out when we sign off here. Okay, last note, Quasi. I love how cancel culture will look at anything you said or did in your past, but they don't use the same logic in situations like George Floyd. Nah, brother, you're speaking to the choir. That's what I'm talking about. My whole thing is look, I grew up in a religious family in Texas, or, on my mom's side, my grandmother was very religious, and she was very, very religious. And then my stepmom's family is very religious. And my biggest problem with religion and people that are religious is anytime they do stuff that's hypocritical. I don't like hypocrites. And that's what turned me off at a very, very early age with religion. First Baptist was the religion, and my grandmother was Assembly of God, where they talked in tongues and stuff like that. It freaked me out as a child. I thought they were all possessed. I thought they were all the devil. I thought my grandmother was actually possessed. The first time I went to church with her and she started talking in tongues, I never looked at her the same again. And she was telling me that it's the Holy Ghost, and now I see what life is really all about, and God's commitment to teaching people to talk in tongues and being able to speak with God. And I was like, bitch, you're crazy. I ain't going back to church with you again. And then she was heartbroken because I never went back to church with her again after that. And I was probably second or third grade, and was spending some time with my grandmother after my parents divorced. Freedom Dove, you got here just as we're signing off. Anyway, guys, let me let you guys know. Last comment I was typing before you even brought it up. But anyway, so that's my biggest problem with the left is how hypocritical they are. Just like George Floyd, he's a martyr, and then this little boy gets shot by the black man, executed. This little 5-year-old boy riding his bicycle gets executed by a black man, and it's just crickets until people on social media like myself start putting things out there about how hypocritical it is that nobody's talking about that, and the media's not talking about it. Nobody's talking about it except for it's starting to build momentum on social media, as it should. It should be the number one story. That freaking Abram Beckham's, or whatever his name was, that got ran down by those two rednecks in Arkansas or Alabama or wherever the hell it was, when he was moving around or snooping around in that house that was under construction that was in their neighborhood, and then they chased him down. That was front page. That was on the news. You couldn't even turn on CNN. That was every story. I could turn CNN off and that story was on. I could go and drive around and go run errands and come back and turn it on, and that same story was on. But this 5-year-old white boy gets executed by a black man. It's crickets. It's crickets. It's tumbleweeds blowing through the desert, not saying a thing about it. But the hypocrite, and then all of my black friends that are militant BLM, they're all, well, his killer was arrested immediately. His killer's going to be charged. His killer was arrested in less than 24 hours. That's not what we're talking about. That is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the hypocrisy, because the hypocrisy is, if that had been a white man, that walked out there and shot a little 5-year-old black boy in the head because a little black boy rode his bike on the white man's grass, you would have had looting and burning and murdering and killing and attacking white people and all of that all over again. It would be George Floyd 2.0. Yes, I completely agree with you, Freedom Dove. Yeah, Aubrey, that was his name, Freedom Dove. And the crazy thing about it is, I used to be a leftist. I mean, when I moved to LA, I was, I've always been a centrist, but I leaned very left. But like I said in one of my last podcasts, I was left, but the left moved so far left that they left me right. Morning from the UK, Guns OG. What's up, brother? We're just getting ready to end this podcast. We're going to run it for 1 hour and 30 minutes. It was supposed to cut off at an hour. I'm trying to do an hour show, but always when I get new people in the room, I hate to just shut it down. So anyway, good to see you at Guns OG. Where exactly are you at in the UK? London, where exactly are you at? What's the weather like over there for you guys? It's pretty hot here in California. Melinda Becker says, right, hypocrisy makes me sick. Yeah, I've never been a fan of hypocrisy. Being a hypocrite gets under my skin. I try very hard not to be a hypocrite myself. And if I catch myself doing that, I immediately correct myself because I mean, human nature, you can be hypocritical at times. And then I always make sure, oh, you mean Portland? You're in Oregon, aren't you, Melinda? I mean, basically, we could nuke Portland at this point, like it was North Korea, for all I care. You didn't hear me say that, but I think I said it. I was like clearing my throat, and it just come out or something. Gunzo J says, any other streams tonight? In Manchester was crazy hot last week, past few days, hard, crazy rain. Ooh, so I bet it's humid, or it will be humid after the rain stops and the sun comes back out. It's been crazy hot here in California and humid. JBK, haha, I'm in Portland. You poor bastards that are in Portland. So what do you think, JBK? How do you like Portland? Portland sucks anymore. Hi, Amy. My very good friend, you'll see him. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you'll see my good friend, Mike Pierce. He is actually a former professional UFC fighter. He's retired from the UFC now, but when I knew him personally, he was fighting in the UFC, and he's from Portland. But he is very right. He leans very right. His wife now is very left, and his wife, she's very BML supporter and that stuff. But he's very right. But he sure doesn't like seeing what's going on in Portland right now. But I know so many professional MMA fighters. Pat Milicic is from Portland. My good friend Evan Tanner, before he passed away, he was very, he was always up there in the Portland area. You got several MMA fighters up around there. So it's weird that, and they're all very right wing. Let's see who else. Pat Milicic. Gosh, my mind went blank. But yeah, there's a big MMA community up there. JBK, I still love it here. Might think of different retirement location though. Let's see, freedom. Yeah, they're Marxist. BML was literally started by witches. They're doing a lot of nasty. That is spiritual war. Yeah. Guns OG. One day I want to buy a place in California and Vegas. Do Vegas. Don't do California. California is a mess right now. It's almost as bad as Portland. But anyway, the last few days here in California. So in Death Valley, I heard yesterday that it was 100 and it had been recorded was maybe the hottest ever recorded in history. And in Death Valley was 136 degrees or something like that, 133 degrees. But it has been extremely hot here in Southern California, which is crazy because it usually doesn't get that hot here. It's usually around 70, 72, 75. And when it gets really hot for us, it's up about 85 or 86. It's been up in the upper 90s and super humid. I feel like I was in Dallas. I was in a store the other day and I asked the girl, I'm like, are we in Houston? I said, it feels like Houston weather. And she laughed. She goes, oh my God, last time I was in Houston, I was dying. And she goes, you're so right. Freedom Duff goes, oh my God, that's too hot. Yeah, we're trying to figure it out. It's been super, super hot here, which is very weird for California. But we don't have extreme heat. So, I mean, it's been uncomfortable, but I've tried not to. I mean, we're so lucky because the climate is so mild here in California. Amy President says, not much going on in Vegas either. My kids just went there last month. Yeah, it's my buddy lives there, Nico. Not much going on there. Everything's still closed down. JBK, it was 109 by my house 2 days ago. Ooh, in Oregon? In Portland? That's hot for Portland. Linda says, thank you. What is PDX? Is that Portland? Stinks. The Northern Pacific, or what do they call that? Freedom Dove, that's why everyone wants to live in SoCal. Yeah, it's the weather. The weather is nice. Linda Becker, we've been 102. Yeah, very unusual for Portland. Yeah. I mean, that's That's another, mantra for the global warmist that say, the climate's changing. The climate is changing. The climate's always changed. But did you know the planet used to always be 2 degrees hotter than what it is right now? Or it was, I'm trying to see what the temperature is now here. It is, it's down to 81. But tomorrow it's going to be 101 degrees. 101. That's crazy for LA. Or I'm actually out in Orange County. That is crazy for Orange County. Hey, what is going on, Badge? My old buddy Badge. Badge, everybody needs one. Come to Alberta. It's 55 to 70. Are you back in Canada, Badge? You old van lifer, you buddy. Good to see you, Badge. Gary Miller, 106 last few days. Yeah. So Badge, come wintertime, when we get out of these 100-degree days, if you're going to be in Arizona anytime, let me know, because I still do want to hook up with you and get that diesel heater installed in my rig before it gets too cold. Because last winter I went without a heater at all. And you know as well as I do, that can be pretty miserable. My rig actually has a gas furnace in it, like a propane furnace, like in an RV, my Snap-on truck. But it's never worked. And instead of fixing it or, doing whatever it is to fix it, I think you got to pull it out and clean something in the back is what I've been told. But I think what I'm going to do is I want to install a diesel heater, and I want to install the diesel heater. And I saw a video where you did this for someone else. Maybe it was 7, but you installed the diesel heater and then you piped in you spliced into their diesel tank or their fuel line. So the diesel heater would just run. You didn't have to use the tank for the diesel heater that comes with it. It just ran off the diesel fuel tank. That's what I want to do to my truck. So, yeah, we are staying here this winter. The border is still closed. Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, so there's probably not going to be an RTR or anything this year. Maybe I'll have to come to Canada to get that heater installed, Badge. Or I'll just have to watch your videos and do it myself. Yeah, that's right. Pat Miletich, MMA gym. Used to be in Iowa. Yeah, it did. I may be getting my people mixed up. I know the bad guy. Chael Sonnen is in Portland. There's several people that used to train up there. Climate is always changing. We're actually due for a mini ice age. Yes, very true, Freedom Dove. Anyway, guys, we just hit 1 hour and 30 minutes. Let me one more time let you guys know that I did a mask giveaway today. And one of these masks is going to Matilda. She won the mask for the day. And these are ladies' masks, and it says, "I love America" on them, or "I heart America." And one of these will be gone, but I'll still have 2 left, ladies. So if you come back and if you are a mask person, I know a lot of people aren't mask people, like, let's see, Melinda isn't a mask person. So if you're not a mask person, then don't worry about it. Not a big deal. Well, Freedom Dove says, "What? I want one." Okay, Freedom Dove, you'll have to see me on Wednesday, because I'll be giving another one away on Wednesday. And just so you guys know, Freedom Dove, I hate masks, but I have to wear one to shop. Okay, so that's me too. And I will say the reason I got one of these is because I have a bunch of these paper masks that I got, right? These things are a piece of crap, because this thing comes off. Then you have to poke a hole in here and then tie a knot in it. And then the other one will come off. So these things are junk, these little paper masks. They're just a pain in the butt. But the thing is what I like about these masks is they're kind of hokey. They're very thin, and they're just material, but what I like about them is you can just stick them in your pocket, and they're so light that you don't even realize. Even if you stick this thing in your pocket, it's like you get like a big bulge in your pocket. You know what I mean? And that drives me nuts. These things are like a little tissue, so you put them in your pocket, you don't even know you have them in there. So, like, I was at my storage facility yesterday because I was getting Bertha ready to sell my camper van, and I walked to the office to borrow a flat cart to be able to move stuff. And I knocked on the door because the girl had it locked. And then she comes to the window and she's like, "Got to put a mask on." I couldn't hear her. She's like, "Where's your mask?" And I was like, "Oh." So I immediately turned to go to the truck to get my mask because I always forget it because I won't carry one of these in my pocket. And then I immediately realized as I started to walk to my truck, I was like, "Oh, I have my little cloth mask now." So I just reached in my pocket and grabbed it and stuck it on. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And she let me right in. So I was notoriously always forgetting my stupid mask everywhere. So that's one thing that I really like about these little cloth masks. I'm not sure how much protection they are if you're actually worried about COVID protection. I don't think they're probably that great. But yeah. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this episode of American Nomad. I want to thank you guys, everybody, so much for joining me. Badge, everybody needs one. Thanks, buddy. Good to see you. When you want to put it in, I will help you. Thanks, Badge, so much. Yes, JBK. Bertha sold yesterday. I'm just waiting on some paperwork to come in and then delivering it to its new owner. Canadians are saying May 2021. Yeah. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you again, guys, for showing up. I do totally appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Matilda, for your $20 super chat. That was super sweet of you. I'll try to get your mask out to you tomorrow. Get it in the mail. The mail's already run today. And if you didn't hear, I was ranting against the post office, but I'm going to actually mail it to you in the mail. So we'll test the mail service and see if you get your mask on time. Good night, everybody. And last but not least, guys, don't hold me to this as the gospel, but right now I'm planning on doing the podcast on Monday at 7:30, and I may try to move it to 7 or maybe 6:30. So it's not so late for some of you guys on the East Coast and other places. But right now, tentatively, I'm going to do this live stream podcast on Monday at 7:30, Wednesday at 7:30, and then Friday at 7:30. So 3 days during the week. And then I'm going to be producing regular videos for either my Nomad News channel or this channel that are going to be produced. But the live stream will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Gary Miller, thanks so much for showing up, guys. Joshua Rialto, thank you, buddy. Freedom Dove, love you. JBK, thank you so much. Amy Preston, thank you so much. Matilda, thank you. Thank you, Matilda, especially for the $20 super chat. I really appreciate that. Badge, you are the man. Did I miss anybody? Melinda Becker, thank you so much. Quasi, good to see you, Quasi. Thanks for showing up. Gary Miller again. Just want to try not to forget anybody. Guns OG from Canada. Oh, Guns OG. Oh, no, from the UK. I'm sorry, Guns OG. So we had a Canadian in here with Badge, and we had Guns OG from the UK. Thank you, guys. Always good to have somebody that's not actually in our country here in America. It's always good to have you foreigners from across the pond or up north, the great white yonder up north. Badge. S'mores, it was great to have you in here. And I believe that's going to do it. Quasi. Who else do we have? Trying to go back there. Oh, we had William Gaines in Marion County up north in north of San Francisco, and Black Warrior. Thank you guys so much for joining me here on this episode of American Nomad, and we will see you Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And remember, guys, keep looking up because that's where it all is. Peace.